Good evening, this is BrassTacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. The Enforcement Directorate has got 3-day custody of Shiv Sena leader Sanjay Raut in the chawl case. The ED claims that one of Raut's close associates got land from Madha, sold it to a developer for close to 1,000 crore rupees, pocketed that money, and then instead went and bought luxury plots in Alibag, a flat in Dadar, all in the names of relatives of Sanjay Raut. And the worst part, the deal with Madha was that rehabilitation housing will be built for over 600 families in chawl. It's been 14 years. Those families are still waiting for accommodation. Meanwhile, the Shiv Sena claims this is outright political vendetta by the BJP. The BJP is using agencies like the ED as venerable instruments of the state to settle political scores. Where does the truth lie? Does Mr. Raut and his associates owe an explanation, A, for where that money went, and B, more importantly, why has that rehabilitation housing still not come? Why are families, over 600 of whom, are still waiting for that accommodation?
A midnight arrest, several hours of questioning, and now in ED's custody for 3 days. Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut has his back against the wall. He has been accused of financial irregularities in the redevelopment of a chawl in Mumbai's Goregaon and related financial property transactions involving his wife and alleged associates. While the Enforcement Directorate had sought 8 days custody, a special court only granted custody till the 4th of August. The judge observed that 112 crores was siphoned off, of which 55 lakhs was transferred to the accused's wife. The PMLA prima facie refers to trail of money and the role of the accused. Custodial interrogation is necessary considering the volume of the matter. The ED deserves custody in order to investigate the crime thoroughly. Sanjay Raut is one of the few prominent Shiv Sena leaders who remained in Uddhav Thackeray's camp when a political upheaval brought down his government. So when his close aide was arrested, Uddhav Thackeray went and met Raut's family and stood firmly behind him.
आज मात्र ज्यांच्या डोक्यात हवा गेलेली आहे त्यांनाही मी सांगू इच्छितो की निर्गुणपणाने वागू नका. दिवस आणि काळ हा सगळ्यांसाठी नेहमी चांगलाच असतो असं नाही.
Thackeray's Sena faction also raised the issue in Parliament.
Chairman has to be kept in the loop in case any such action is being taken against a sitting member of Parliament. I would want to ask the Chairman if he has been kept in the loop. If he has not been kept in the loop, what is the procedure that he is going to be following? And if he was kept in the loop, why is it not finding a mention in the parliamentary bulletin which the rules clearly suggest?
But independent MP Navneet Rana, who was arrested for threatening to play the Hanuman Chalisa outside Uddhav Thackeray's home, linked the scam to the former chief minister.
Still reached to many people. But Mathushri, yes. Because the way he used to work in Mahavikas Agadi as an agent, any work should be done, means done by Sanjay Raut.
Sanjay Raut was summoned 4 times by the Enforcement Directorate but appeared only once before the agency. So can his vendetta claims still hold?
Before we go into our debate on the talking point this evening, CNN News 18's Herman Gomes, in fact, visited the chawl in Goregaon. He went there to find out how this scam began and, more importantly, what has happened or changed, if at all anything has, in the last 14 years. This is what he found out in his ground report.
We are right now inside Siddharth Nagar, which is more popularly known as chawl, which is at the heart of the controversy in which Sanjay Raut has been arrested by the Enforcement Directorate. At one point in time, there were 672 tenants that lived here. It was then decided by Madha that the area needs to be developed, and therefore an agreement was signed between 3 parties. One was Guru Ashish Construction Private Limited, which was awarded the tender, Madha itself, as well as the tenants. But 14 years later, nothing has really changed. In fact, it was only in 2010 that the ED says that 83 lakhs was allegedly given to the wife of Sanjay Raut, who brought a flat in Dadar, Mumbai, which is now seized as part of money laundering. Due to non-payment of rent and other irregularities, Madha sent a termination notice in 2018 to the developers. The 9 developers then moved Bombay High Court and the project was stalled. In June 2021, the project was restarted again based on a government GR. In February 2022 this year, the construction work once again began, but at a slow pace. Now MADA is supposed to develop the project and give possession to the 672 families, besides completing work in 306 flats.
All right, let me now go across to our talking point panelists. Aparajita Sarangi is BJP Member of Parliament and National Spokesperson. Adil Singh Boparai, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Raj Punj is Shiv Sena leader. Naveen Chomal, advocate. And Satyendra Singh is former Deputy Director of the Enforcement Directorate. Adil Boparai, I'll start with you. In 2008, MADA, which is the Maharashtra Housing and Area Development Agency, had in fact taken up this redevelopment project as per the deal between MADA and this Guru Ashish Construction, in which one of Mr. Sanjay Raut's close associates owns Guru Ashish Constructions. The deal was to rehabilitate 672 tenants and redevelop the locality. MADA paid this Guru Ashish Construction to the tune of almost 1,000 crores, but none of these flats have come up in a way that people can inhabit there. Isn't it a legitimate question to ask Mr. Sanjay Raut and his associates, where is that money? Why hasn't this rehabilitation housing, these flats, come up?
Good evening, Zaka. I'll request for 120 seconds of uninterrupted time. Today in this country, the opposition parties face two formidable challenges. The first challenge is from a malicious government, which is anchored in political vendetta, which has a disdain for political opposition. The second challenge is from a biased, a compliant, and a pliable media, which is playing the role of a cheerleader for the ruling dispensation.
Adil, you know, what is the question I asked you?
That's what I'm going to get.
And within the second sentence, you've gotten personal. I mean,
I have no doubt in my mind, the Congress party has no doubt in its mind that the media is playing the role of a cheerleader.
but Adil, no, 1 second. No. I can also. No, 1 second. First of all, this is not the question I asked you. If you have an answer, if you haven't, of course it matters. Of course it matters. I mean, Adil, I'm not here to. Adil, 1 second. I'm being very respectful. I'm being very respectful to you. I'm being very respectful to you. I have a question. Do you have an answer for that question? You answer that question. If you don't have an answer for that question, don't answer that question. But please don't get into these personal attacks on the media. Sorry, the media doesn't fight elections. If you fight elections and you can't win against the BJP, don't blame it on the media.
I think our charge stands vindicated that the media has indeed become.
Can I repeat that question? You're a lawyer. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Can I answer?
Yes.
I get uninterrupted time to answer.
Yes, provided you're answering the question. If you don't have an answer, don't answer. I'm fine with that. But don't make these low blows. Please don't make these low blows, Adil. No, please. Come on.
You cannot.
No. You
believe that the media is playing the role of a doormat for the BJP.
Come on, please.
We believe that.
Please.
Can I say what we believe in?
I can also start making low blow personal attacks against you and your party. I don't do that. I'm not going to bring myself down to that level. So Adil, I'm going to repeat myself once again. Do you have an answer for the question that I asked you, which is that MADA got into an agreement with this Guru Ashish Construction? 1,000 crore rupees were exchanged. Not a single flat has been built. Do you have an answer for that question?
Zaka, I think it's beyond any pale of doubt that the media has been engaged to divert the real issues which are facing this country. And in this conspiracy of headline management, the media is equally complicit. Now coming to the issue at hand. The ED has become a puppet in the hands of the ruling dispensation. The ED is being used to arm twist political opponents. I put this question to you, and if perhaps you can muster the courage to ask the BJP, what happened to the 17 ED notices to MLAs belonging to the Sanjay faction? These MLAs received notices from the ED right before the change of government. Where have those ED investigations disappeared? What happened to the ED case against Narayan Rane? What happened to the cases against Mukul Roy? What happened to the cases against a host of other opposition leaders who switched over to the BJP?
Okay, I'll ask those questions. I'll definitely ask those questions. I've asked those questions in the past as well. And contrary to what you think, Adil, contrary to what you think, some of us are just trying to do our job. Okay, so if you want to adjectify it, calling us doormats and stuff, I
Zaka,
leave it to you.
I think
I'm not
Zaka,
going to lower my discourse to the level that you have lowered it to, and I'm really sorry that it's come down to that.
I'm consciously saying
No,
this.
let me ask the
Yes,
BJP spokesperson. No, I'll ask the BJP
media has
spokesperson.
become
This
cheerleaders
is
for
a constant charge from the opposition, from the Congress, that somehow the people who have ED cases against them, who join your party or who ally with your party, they get whitewashed in the washing machine of the BJP. There's no case, or at least the cases in deep freezer when it comes to Narayan Rane, Himanta Biswa, Yediyurappa. All of them, the cases are in cold storage. So please respond, Aparajita Sarangi.
A very good evening. I think it has become a fashion with the opposition parties to level charges against the BJP and against Prime Minister Modi and his team for doing something which is right, which is good for the country. And there is zero tolerance to corruption in the country as far as Modi government is concerned. And we mean business. And this is being reflected in all our actions, in all our works. Naturally, there would be opposition. I can understand. They have to speak because there's a question of their relevance. Now, I'll just take 30 seconds. I was sitting in the Lok Sabha 10 minutes back. There was discussion on the price rise, and suddenly the Congress stages a walkout. The opposition parties create a ruckus and they stage a walkout because they don't want to listen. The same is the case here. You know, the fact remains that if you don't know how to play the chess, you can't blame the chess board. The fact remains that ED and CBI, when they are on the job, they are unraveling the truth. Now, all these things, whatever the statements that are being made by the esteemed panelist, would have held relevance and would have been, you know, kind of appreciated by all of us had ED gone into the act of unraveling the truth, would not have found anything.
Yeah.
Now, here there is a 1,039 crore scam, and we are aware of the fact that since 2014 till date, poor 672 tenants of a chawl have not got their houses done. And there has been, you know, exchange of money. 901 crore rupees have been given to the 9 builders. I think we are all aware of this.
Yes.
Now, what is the connection between Sanjay Raut ji and Praveen Raut? And we have incriminating evidences. We have documents. And let me tell you very candidly, very emphatically, that CBI or this ED, they are independent agencies, and
Okay.
I am not here as an advocate of ED.
And
I
let me-
want to be very clear on that.
Let-
They are
no,
independent
one
agencies.
second.
They are
I
doing
have
their
others
job. The
also
law will
on
take
the
its course.
other
and
guests
I think
also.
Sanjay Raut ji and others
Let me go one second.
must
Adil,
support.
one second. Let me go to Raj Punj. He's of the Shiv Sena. Raj Punj, this is what the ED has claimed today in court, that Praveen Raut, who was part of Guru Ashish Construction, a close aide of Sanjay Raut, misled MADA. He sold floor space index, or FSI, to 9 private developers. He got 901 crores as a result of that transaction. Did not build, like I said earlier, did not build the 672 flats that they were supposed, low-cost housing that they were supposed to build for the original tenants. Instead, a new project called Meadows was launched. He also got money to the tune of 138 crores for this new project, and this new project also did not come up. And then the private developers went to court, and the court put a stay on this project. Shouldn't Sanjay Raut explain what is his connection with Praveen Raut? Shouldn't Praveen Raut explain where he took this money? And how is it that Sanjay Raut's wife allegedly bought a flat in Dadar, allegedly using this money? Aren't these relevant questions that Shiv Sena needs to clarify and that Sanjay Raut needs to clarify on? Raj Punj?
Absolutely.
You have to unmute, sir. You have to unmute. Thank you.
जो इसमें आप देख रहे हैं कि जो भी हो रहा है, इस समय मैं ये नहीं कहता, सारंगी जी हमारे बीच में है और पीछे प्रीवियस में हमारे साथ रहे, तो ये वही शख्स है, ये वही गद्दावर नेता है शिवसेना के, जिन्होंने हमेशा प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी की रिस्पेक्ट करी। उन्होंने कई मुद्दों के ऊपर इनका साथ दिया और खड़े होकर साथ दिया, बेबाकी से साथ दिया। ऑलवेज आप देखते हैं, कभी भी वो निडर होकर इस बात को कहते हैं। अगर आप सही और गलत को गलत, सही को सही और गलत को गलत नहीं कहना सीखेंगे तो आप फिर एक सच्चे शिव सैनिक नहीं है। तो एक सच्चे शिव सैनिक होने का जो आप आज सुना आपने सबने भी कि उद्धव साहब ठाकरे ने यही बात तो बोली है कि सच्चे शिव सैनिक है, जो सही को सही और गलत को गलत कहते हैं, वो भी आज इस प्रकार से प्रताड़ित हो रहे हैं। द पॉलिटिकल वेंडेटा जो है, राजनीतिक प्रतिशोध नहीं होना चाहिए। ईडी की हम हमेशा रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं, सीबीआई की हमेशा रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं, एनसीबी की हमेशा, जितनी भी एनआई, जितनी भी हमारी केंद्रीय एजेंसियां, हमेशा उनकी रिस्पेक्ट करते आए जैकब। और अभी भी हम यही कहेंगे कि हमें भी कानून पे भरोसा है और कानून अपना कार्य करे, और जिसमें भी इसमें व्हाटएवर द फॉल्ट इज, कुछ भी हो इसमें, गुरु आशीष कंपनी है,
लेकिन
या कौन है,
राजपुंजी, आपने सवाल का जवाब तो नहीं दिया। क्या कनेक्शन है संजय राउत और गुरु आशीष कंस्ट्रक्शन का? ये जो पैसे लिए गए वो कहाँ गए ये पैसे? और मैं मान लेता हूं कि अगर ये 14 सालों में कुछ फ्लैट्स वहां आए, कुछ लोग वहां रिहैबिलिटेट हुए, लेकिन हमारी ग्राउंड रिपोर्ट, हमने रिपोर्टर भेजा वहां पत्रा चौल, वहां पे एक भी फ्लैट पूरी मतलब कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ है और एक भी टेनेंट रह नहीं रहे हैं। काफी लोग बॉम्बे छोड़ चुके हैं क्योंकि वो उनके लिए रहने की जगह नहीं है।
जैकब जी, यही तो मैं यही कहना चाह रहा था। आपने मैं पीछे बताना चाहता था, क्योंकि सारंगी जी हमारे बहुत ही सीनियर भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लीडर है, और मैं इनको यही बताना चाहता कि पीछे हमारे साथ रहे। और आज भी मैं यही बात कहना चाह रहा हूं कि अब ये जो आइदर इज अ स्कैम ऑफ 3,500 हाउसेज आर नॉट मेड, मतलब जो नहीं बने या उन पे क्या इश्यूज है, वट एवर द इश्यूज इज देयर, ईडी जो भी है उसके ऊपर कार्यवाही करेगी, डेफिनेटली करेगी। उसके ऊपर जो भी लोग हैं, मैं एक आज तक ईडी पे मैं एक चीज और कहना चाहूंगा कि ईडी ने आज तक जितनी कार्यवाही की है, जितने लोगों के ऊपर आज तक केसेस को हैंडल किया है, आज तक उसके रिजल्ट भी कोई ज्यादा अच्छे नहीं है। ठीक है, ईडी अपना काम करती है। उस टाइम वहां पर आप देख रहे हैं पिछले 2.5 साल से महाराष्ट्र के अंदर क्या हो रहा है। महाराष्ट्र के अंदर भी यही हुआ, कितने बॉलीवुड के एक्टर एक्ट्रेस को इस प्रकार से पूछा गया, लाया गया, हुआ, कई चीजें इन्वेस्टिगेशन हुई। सुशांत सिंह राजपूत के केस में आप देख लीजिए, कुछ भी ऐसा हुआ।
नहीं, ये आपकी बात ये सही है कि काफी सारे ऐसे केसेस हुए हैं जहां it did not result in conviction, the track record is poor, वो सब ठीक है, लेकिन you're still not answering the question. Anyway, Naveen Chomal, let me go to Naveen Chomal. एक second, Raj ji, एक second. The ED further today went on to say in court that Praveen Raut got 100 crore rupees from one of the real estate companies, HDIL, which is part of the 9 companies to whom this land was sold, and he diverted money from this 100 crores to accounts of family members of Sanjay Raut, through which Varsha Raut, his wife, received 83 lakh rupees, and she used that money to buy a flat in Dadar. And 8 plots of land were also bought in Alibag in Varsha's name. Now, you please tell me, isn't this a matter of worth investigating? Isn't this a matter where Sanjay Raut and his family members at least owe an explanation? If not to the country, if not to the city, certainly to those 672 families?
No, I would rather say that they are responsible and they are answerable to the entire nation, because these crimes are not just against the 672 families, but these crimes are against the nation. The people who are in the political power, they are misusing their power. They have the police machinery under them to prolong the matter of the cases, allegations against them. So I think they owe the explanation to the entire nation. Now coming to the issue that each time these people are saying that it's a political vendetta, and I appreciate there are figures, there are records of cash being transferred, and we have also the record that when the inquiry started, Mrs. Varsha Raut again returned back the money to Praveen Raut. So definitely they are trying to wash their hands up and trying to blame Praveen Raut. So I think Praveen Raut may be of a lesser role, and the main players may be Sanjay Raut and maybe people in Matoshri also. So ED definitely needs to be given a chance to investigate the entire matter. And coming to the again their allegation that these people have been voicing their voice against Modi government, very well. They are in the opposition, they have all the right. But that doesn't mean that all their crimes will get absorbed. When they are caught with the crimes, they have to answer for themselves. They cannot say that you have to what about the notice issued to 16 other people who changed to the sides. I am sure the ED will definitely pursue the matter against those people also. Let us have faith in the organization, and let us build the atmosphere of faith in these organizations, and let us pressure this organization to not to spare anybody, whether they are in the ruling dispensation or in the opposition.
No, so the answer to the questions that Mr. Raut needs to explain, and all these loopholes that I have pointed out, and this is what the ED has claimed in court. the answer to that can't be, why is the ED's record against Hemanta Biswa so bad, or ED's record against Narayan Rane so bad? That's a legitimate question in and of itself, but not in response to Sanjay Raut's alleged misdoings. But let me ask Satyendra Singh. Sir, one second. Sir, one second. Satyendra Singh is a former deputy director of the Enforcement Directorate. Sir, I think the question that opposition is also asking is simply this. You look at the record of the Enforcement Directorate since PMLA came, which is I think about 17 years ago, only 23 convictions have happened, which is a conviction rate of 0.5%. Now, please explain why, the opposition's charge is not valid. That look at Enforcement Directorate's track record. They have such a poor track record. And in this case, they're going only after opposition leaders. So it's being used as an instrument to settle political scores. That's the charge.
जी, पहला सवाल आपने खड़ा किया कन्विक्शन रेट पे कि इतना कम कन्विक्शन रेट क्यों है 0.5%।
जी
देखिए, मैं आपका ध्यान दिलाना चाहूंगा सबका कि कन्विक्शन रेट कैसे निकाली जाए। कन्विक्शन रेट निकलेगी कि कितने केसेज में ट्रायल कंप्लीट हो गया और जजमेंट प्रोनाउंस हुआ और उसमें कितने लोग कन्विक्ट हुए, उससे कन्विक्शन रेट है। जहां तक मेरी जानकारी है, अभी तक टोटल 19 केसेज में कन्विक्शन हुआ है, ट्रायल कंप्लीट हुआ है, और उनमें से आउट ऑफ दैट 17 केसेज में कन्विक्शन हुआ है। अब बड़ी सिंपल मैथमेटिक्स है, ये कन्विक्शन रेट है 90% और 0.5% बताई जा रही है। अब नंबर ऑफ केसेज जो कोर्ट में पेंडिंग, उनके ऊपर ईडी का क्या रोल है? ईडी क्या कर सकती है? अदालत है, उनकी अपनी स्पीड है, उनकी अपनी प्रायोरिटीज है, तो उसमें ईडी पे एलेज करना कि ईडी उसको लॉजिकल एंड तक नहीं ले जा पा रही। ईडी ने लॉजिकल एंड पे जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया, जितने किए, और उनमें कंप्लेंट फाइल कर दी, प्रोसीडिंग कंप्लेंट जो फाइल हुई है 1900 समथिंग, अब उसमें कोर्ट में यदि पेंडिंग है तो उसके लिए मैं नहीं समझता कि ईडी को जिम्मेदार ठहराएगा।
नहीं, लेकिन सत्येंद्र सिंह साहब, ये तो हर एजेंसी में, चाहे वो दिल्ली पुलिस हो या कोई और स्टेट पुलिस हो या सीबीआई हो, कन्विक्शन रेट तो ऐसे ही तोला जाता है ना कि आपने कितने केस में आपने कन्विक्शन सजा सुनवाई, तो आपके जो रिकॉर्ड है उसी के ऊपर होगा। अगर if the agency is not able to prove it in court or able to find convictions in a reasonable amount of time, और मैं मानता हूं कि फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस प्रूव करना मुश्किल होता है, मनी ट्रेल प्रूव करना मुश्किल होता है, ऐसा नहीं है कि वो आसान काम है। मतलब जैसे मर्डर के लिए तो आपको मर्डर वेपन चाहिए और मोटिव चाहिए, और जो भी गिल्टी है यू फाइंड दैट पर्सन, whereas in financial transactions it's hard to prove. I'm not denying that, but the fact is that रिकॉर्ड तो इतना ही है ना।
रिकॉर्ड इतना नहीं है। मेरा फिर यही कहना है कि रिकॉर्ड कहां से बनाएंगे आप? रिकॉर्ड होगा, स्टेटिस्टिक कैसे बनेगी? जितने केसेस में कोर्ट ने फैसला सुनाया है उसमें कितने में कन्विक्शन हुआ है, कन्विक्शन रेट वहां से आएगी। यदि 19 केसेस में फैसला सुना है और 17 में कन्विक्शन हुआ है तो 0.5% रेट कैसे हो गई? आज यदि कोई पुलिस एफआईआर चार्जशीट फाइल कर देती है कोर्ट में और कोर्ट में 10 साल केस चलता है, तो यदि हम ये डाटा निकालें कि कन्विक्शन रेट बहुत कम आ रही, 90% कन्विक्शन रेट है पीएमएलए का, जो कि एलिगेशन लगाया जा रहा है गलत। देखिए, कोर्ट जब ट्रायल कंप्लीट हो जाएगा, जजमेंट प्रोनाउंस हो जाएंगे, उसमें यदि एक्विटल की रेट ज्यादा है तो कन्विक्शन का रेट डाउन हो जाएगा। बहुत सिंपल मैथमेटिक्स है।
Okay, Adil, you want to respond to that? Mr. Satyendra Singh's contention is you can't blame the agency if cases are lying in pendency in courts. You blame it on the judicial process. You can't blame the agency for it.
Yes, 4,500 करोड़
Adil
करोड़ केसेस पेंडिंग है अभी।
जी
सुन रहा था।
Got it, yeah. 5.5 crore cases are pending. Adil, respond, yes.
Zaka, the ED is being weaponized. And we're ready for this. We're ready for this struggle. We're living in the times of an undeclared emergency. There will be an onslaught of ED cases. We are ready for this struggle. This is not going to stop. You think this is going to stop with Sanjay Raut? They will come against every leader who speaks up against them. The mantra is very clear. If you're with us, we protect you. If you join us, we will protect you. Just as we protected Mukul Roy, just as we protected Narayan Rane, just as we protected Hemanta Sharma. If you're against us, if you speak up against us, if you try to bring the people's issue before us, then we will send you to jail. It's as simple as this. That's the mantra. And we're ready for this. The institutions which were watchdogs of democracy have been weaponized against the opposition. And I have no qualms in saying that the fourth estate is complicit. But be that as it may, we are ready. We are ready for this struggle. We fought the British. We struggled against the British. And we are ready. The BJP will leave no stone unturned to stifle political opponents.
Aparajita Sarangi,
no stone
the
unturned.
fact that this is happening just a few weeks after the Shiv Sena Mahavikas Aghadi government there lost power, the Shinde faction, and now the BJP is in power there. The fact that it's happening just a few weeks after that, and Sanjay Raut has been a very outspoken critic of your government. So the opposition's charge is you're now going after him after having secured power in Maharashtra.
I'm very sad to hear the spokesperson from the Congress. You know, he is a citizen of the country and he should appreciate the endeavors of Prime Minister Modi's government towards unraveling what should be unraveled. Right? There has to be no corruption, or rather very less corruption in the country. If we cannot have zero corruption, at least it should be reduced to as much as possible. Now here, there are two words in Hindi, let me say, sahas or dussahas. It's good to be sahasi, it's good to be courageous, but please don't be dussahasi. Now here one person, one congressman or anybody from Shiv Sena can come out and say that whatever is being unraveled by the ED is far from the truth. Is somebody defending Sanjay Raut on the grounds of he not having cheated these 672 tenants? There are many questions that they need to answer. They are standing in the dock today.
Yeah.
So I think they should actually accept that there is corruption, there is a huge scam and massive corruption, I would say, and it is absolutely crystal clear. Everything is on the table, on the plate. And even then, people from Shiv Sena, people from Congress have the dussahas to defend Sanjay Raut and the team. How very ridiculous.
So Raj, in as much as ये जो merits of the case है, ये संजय राउत के खिलाफ जो भी इल्जाम ईडी लगा रही है, आप ये मेरिट्स पे बोलिए ना, ऑन सब्सटेंस बताइए कि क्या ये गलत है जो ईडी एलेज कर रही है कोर्ट में, क्या ये गलत है कि संजय राउत का कोई जानकारी नहीं थी इस केस के बारे में, और ये जो माडा से जो पैसे लिए गए हैं, जो प्राइवेट डेवलपर्स को दी गए, और ये 670 जो फैमिलीज हैं उनको जो रिहैबिलिटेशन हाउसिंग देनी थी, उनका क्या कोई लेना देना नहीं है? आप ऑन मेरिट बताइए ना।
जैकब जी, जिस तरह से सरंगी जी बोल रही है कि इस तरह से उनको डिफेंड करेंगे या कुछ करेंगे, देखिए आप जब तक कोई मुजरिम नहीं करार दिया जाता उसको आप नहीं, एलिगेशन है, पार्ट ऑफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन है, इन्वेस्टिगेशन रहेगी।
नहीं, लेकिन सवाल तो पूछ सकते हैं।
देखिए
सवाल तो पूछ सकते हैं।
नहीं जैकब जी, ये साथ में रहे, इतने साल रहे, तब 2007 की बात है, आज 15 साल हो गए और अभी 2.5 साल से तो अलग हुए, उससे पहले तो साथ थे। अब आज सब कुछ आज ही होना है, सब कुछ आज ही आ जाएगी, सीबीआई ईडी सब कुछ आज ही कार्य कर रही है। मतलब सबसे बड़ी बात यही है कि आज आपको ही लगा इस बात को, तब आपको जांच करवा लेनी थी ना सबकी, जो भी इसमें इशू थे। तो ऐसा तो है नहीं कि आज ही सब कुछ हो रहा है। ठीक है, आज हम डिफेंड करेंगे, बिकॉज जो अगर आपके विरुद्ध बोलेगा सरंगी जी, अगर आपके विरुद्ध बोलेगा तो उसके ऊपर ये थोड़ी कि आप कहेंगे कि नहीं अभी रुक जाओ, जब हमारा नहीं तो कहीं का भी नहीं। जस्ट नोट डाउन माय डायलॉग, तो हमारा नहीं, जो आपका नहीं वो कहीं का नहीं।
नहीं राज जी, नहीं मैं दोबारा पूछ रहा हूँ आपको, ऑन मेरिट क्या आपके पार्टी के पास कोई जवाब है? संजय राउत के खिलाफ ये इल्जाम लगाया है ईडी ने, क्या वो इल्जाम को नकारने में आपके पास कोई आर्ग्यूमेंट है? बस बड़ा सिंपल सा सवाल है मेरा।
बिल्कुल, देखिए वो इल्जाम क्या है, वो पार्ट ऑफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन है, मैं वही कह रहा हूँ। उसमें क्या है, उन्होंने क्या वहां पर क्या है, इस बारे में पूरा जितना वो अपने आप को इस समय बता रहे हैं, जिस तरह से चल रहा है वो सामने। अब जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन होगी, ईडी पार्ट ऑफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन, जैसे पार्ट ऑफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन जो भी केस होगा, इसके ऊपर जो भी होगा, इसमें पैसे का लेन देन कैसे हुआ, 55 लाख रुपए इधर से उधर कहाँ हुआ, 85 लाख का क्या हुआ, फ्लैट किसको लिया गया, किन्हीं को नहीं मिला, उनको क्यों नहीं मिला।
Naveen Chomal, it's not just this rehabilitation housing that was supposed to come up for 672 families, but more than that, they sold it to 9 developers, resold the same land, the Mada land, to 9 developers, FSI, and collected 901 crores and then pocketed that amount. So it was those developers who then went to court and the court gave a stay.
Exactly. And apart from that, they also collected 138 crores from Meadows also in the scheme.
From Meadows, yes, correct.
So please appreciate that there is a lot of money that has changed the hands, and they have tried to convert that black money, the money generated from the crime. What is the purpose of the PMLA? To unearth the money which is generated from the crime and which has been laundered, try to be shown as a white money from normal income, legitimate income. So that is what the ED is doing.
Okay.
So ED should definitely have the custody of these people. The ED should have the right. And just 2 days back only, our Supreme Court has definitely given a very strong verdict in favor of the powers of the ED and the role of ED, what it is doing. So today, when our country is on the cusp of becoming a super financial power, we are being dragged by a lot of scams all over the places. Like even in the banks, there have been so many cases of the people defaulting the loans.
Okay.
So ultimately, all these NPAs and all these crimes which are there is definitely a second step to it, that is the money laundering. What are the money they have generated through crimes? It is ultimately laundered.
Okay.
And then
I got to wrap up. All I'll say is, you know, the political argument being put forth by the opposition, that cannot be a response to the specific allegations that the ED has leveled against Sanjay Raut. That needs to be cleared both in the public domain and, of course, in a court of law, because naturally his lawyers will challenge the contentions of the ED. But like I said, the political argument that, you know, ED is being used as an instrument of the state for political scores, for settling disputes with the opposition, that cannot be a response to the specific allegations of corruption and money laundering against Sanjay Raut and his close associates. Now, let's talk about the other story, which is the big story in Parliament as well. After over a week of disruptions, suspensions, finally, the price rise debate took place this evening in the Lok Sabha. The finance minister replied to the debate and said there is no chance of India going into recession or facing stagflation. In the middle of her response, though, the Congress staged a walkout, saying that they were not satisfied with the response of the finance minister. So, what purpose has been achieved? Because the opposition had been demanding this debate on price rise for the better part of the last week. No meaningful business was transacted. There were multiple MPs who were suspended both in the Lok Sabha as well as in the Rajya Sabha. And today, when the debate happened, the Congress in particular walking out, saying that they were not happy with Nirmala Sitharaman's response. What purpose has the entire wasted week served?
Many economists have already expressed their apprehension that country has been heading towards a stagflation.
No question of India getting into recession or stagflation.
All right, on the second debate tonight, Aparajita Sarangi, BJP Member of Parliament, is on the broadcast with us, and Jyotimani Senemalai is a Congress Member of Parliament. Jyotimani, for the last 1 week, the opposition in both houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, had been demanding exactly this. You wanted a debate on price rise, and today, when the Finance Minister was replying to the debate on price rise, Congress MPs walked out. So what purpose was served by the wasted week in which we saw disruption, no meaningful business being transacted, and of course, the entire drama around the suspension and the revoking of the suspension? We'll go across to Jyotimani in just 1 second. We'll try and fix that audio line of hers. But Aparajita Sarangi.
A very good evening. It has been a highly ridiculous performance of the opposition today in the Lok Sabha. I was sitting throughout the debate, and we had expected that the opposition parties would come up with many points against the way we are handling the economy of the country. But unfortunately, a couple of people got up and no facts, no arguments, no tathya, no tark, and thereafter people from the treasury branches started, and ultimately at the end, after very patient listening, Honorable Finance Minister Madam Nirmala Sitharaman started to speak, and she delivered almost more than 2.5 hours of speech. And she had lots of counters, very convincing replies, and lo and behold, I think about half of her speech had been over and the Congress staged a walkout. And she actually mentioned Congress had been disturbing us all through, and this has been a particular session which saw the lowest of the productivity rates. And unfortunately, when the time had come for them to listen to the reply of the government, they just staged a walkout because they did not have any kind of argument or any kind of fact to support their contention. They know what the government is saying is right, and I think they are not able to handle this particular aspect. So it was very unfortunate, very ridiculous, I would say, the way the opposition, especially the Congress, behaved. And, you know, for no reason, they were creating a ruckus. I think all of us, most of you who were not inside the Lok Sabha, were outside, have seen.
Let me see if we can go back to...
It shows what the opposition is like, and the wind was out of the sails today.
All right. No, so as we try to patch through that line of Jyotimani, Member of Parliament, who was also one of the 4 Congress MPs in the Lok Sabha, who was suspended, and the suspension got revoked today. What the Finance Minister said, she said 3 things, and I want to get her response to this. Number 1, she said there is absolutely no chance of India going either into recession or going into stagflation. That's number 1. She also cited how India has foreign exchange reserves in excess of $600 billion. So you cannot compare the situation that India is facing with, say, a Bangladesh or a Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, all are going to the IMF and asking for bailout money. Bangladesh, despite having a pretty good growth rate. So, Jyotimani, please respond. And the third point that the Finance Minister made was that the opposition keeps talking about inflation, but when the UPA was in power, for 22 months, inflation was above 9%. Please respond, ma'am.
Can you please brief me again? In between, my audio got
disconnected. No. So the Finance Minister made 3 points today in response to the price rise debate. Number 1, she said there's no question of India going into recession or stagflation. Number 2, she said India has foreign exchange reserves to the tune of $600 billion. So it is unwise to be comparing India to a Bangladesh or a Sri Lanka and the kind of economic crisis that you're seeing there. And number 3, she said that as far as inflation is concerned, when UPA was in power for 22 months, inflation was above 9%.
See, we asked some straight questions. Then everything is okay. Everything is under control. Everything is better than other part of the world. Then why the prices are rising? It's not a very normal price rise. It's unbearable burden on a common man. Today I spoke in the parliament. It's when you compare to the Congress-led UPA, it's almost double. Everything, pulses, rice, oil, everything is almost double. Gas cylinder is triple time. Petrol, diesel is double. Then everything is okay. Then why this burden has been on common man? Why don't government take the burden? On the one hand, government taxing the people, looting the people. For example, petrol, diesel. They have looted 3,92,000 crores. Where is the money gone? The corporate tax cut 2020 alone 1,45,000 crore. Why Adani ji's become richest in the 4th largest richest in this 8 years of this government? Why the common man is unable to bear the burden of the price rise, unable to live in this country? So this is what we are asking. That everything is okay, everything is in control. Why the 45 years of unemployment, highest unemployment rate? Why are we our unemployment rate is higher than Sri Lanka? Pakistan is 9.4. We are 29.3. the facts is not actually fitting. We want the facts, not the fiction. That is why we walked out today. There is no fact. There is no truth what finance minister has conveyed to the House. Unfortunately, that is why we walked out. They cannot say everything is all right. Then common man is lying. The price rise is not there. That diesel, petrol is below 50 rupees. Gas cylinder is below 200 rupees. What's happening here?
Aparajita Sarangi, respond.
See, our finance minister, as I said earlier, I repeat, she came up with all facts and figures. Now, if the Congress and other opposition parties do not want to listen to her or believe the facts and figures that she had been quoting with all conviction at her command, I think that's their problem. And there is a line in English which I would definitely like to place before you. A man or a woman convinced against her will is of the same opinion still. They do not want to be convinced. But the fact remains that she categorically mentioned that the inflation is 7% or less in India. It cannot be more. It is not more. And she compared this rate with the rate of the UPA government 1 and UPA government 2. And also she compared this rate with the rates of other countries. We are much better off. And she also emphasized the fact that because of COVID, Omicron, and the second wave of COVID, and of course the Russia-Ukraine war situation across the world is not right. And as far as macroeconomy of the country is concerned, the foundations are so very strong that we have been able to handle the shocks of this kind of condition very efficiently. And I think at this juncture, the opposition parties should come forward, try to understand and support the government. I think this is what the people of India are expecting. I'll just give you a figure.
Yeah.
In fact, she talked of the development expenditure. Just give me about 30 seconds. She talked of the development expenditure. Between 2014 and 2022, the development expenditure has been 90.9 lakh crore rupees, whereas this was between 2004 and 2014, only 49.02 lakh crore rupees. So this is the difference. This is one. Number two, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, they are all going to IMF begging for, support.
Yeah.
$3.5 billion, $7 billion by Pakistan, whereas India is not going. So I think we have to understand the situation. When the finance minister of the country stands on the floor of the House in the Lok Sabha and gives facts and figures, we are bound to believe it.
I want to go back to Jyotimani and ask her a political question. The debate on inflation will continue, price rise will continue, but I want to ask a political question. For the last 1 week, the entire business, both in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, got completely disrupted because of this one issue. You wanted a debate on price rise. And today, when the finance minister, after having recovered from COVID, came back to answer your questions, what political sense did it make, Jyotimani, to stage that walkout? Which means that you're not willing to listen to the government. You're not willing to listen to the finance minister.
No, that is completely incorrect. See, we have not only listened to finance minister, we have listened to all other BJP MPs and other NDA MPs. So it's not that we don't want to listen. We listened to finance minister. We were patiently sitting, but but she has presented only the fiction. As I said already, I am just asking a very simple, straight question. If coming to her argument, you take her argument also into confidence. If during the UPA government, Congress-led UPA government, the inflation is very high, how come still Congress government, Manmohan Singh ji, P. Chidambaram ji, able to control the price rise, able to control the unemployment? How can the burden is not passed on the common man? When you are claiming, finance minister is claiming, inflation is lesser than the UPA government, then how people of this country is suffering from the price rise? Why the undue burden is being putting on them? Why their corporate friends are get away with tax cuts?
Can I respond?
Okay. All right,
we are asking this question. We haven't get the answer. That is why we walked out.
Okay. All right, Aparajita Sarangi, final minute. I got to wrap up after this, please. Yeah.
I just want to make it very clear. I just want to make it very clear that nowhere it has been said by the Honorable Finance Minister that the inflation is not high. We are saying it is high, but we have to see things in the global context. Now, as far as other countries are concerned, or our country is concerned, our inflation is low, and that is what she has been emphasizing. And the opposition parties have to understand this particular aspect. And she came up with facts and figures to the Lok Sabha, to the Parliament, and we have to believe all these facts and figures. And I think I did not repeat.
All right.
So
I'm completely out of time. I want to thank both Aparaja Sarangi and Jyotimani for having a very civil debate. I think it shows that at least certainly on television we can have a civil debate. You can agree to disagree, and that is fine. That's perfectly fine. But ultimately, on the issue of price rise, the debate that the opposition wanted happened today in Parliament. It will likely happen in the Rajya Sabha as well later this week. So we look forward to that. We'll take a quick break here on the program. When we come back, a day after a deadly inferno, happening today in a hospital in Jabalpur, in which at least 8 people died, including 5 patients who were admitted in that hospital. We'll have details of that story and a lot more when BrassTacks return.